This thing is sweet. Not only the part, but we are also giving away a full cold air induction intake system in today's video. Stick around. Growing up, I was just another one of those kids who loved cars. It's been that way generation after generation in my family. One particular car that was the drug of the field addiction to whatever the heck this is called, the WS6 Trans Am. Now don't get me wrong, my favorite car then and still probably today is a good old late 60s Chevelle, Camaro, or if I can even get my hand on a Plymouth Roadrunner, I definitely would. The reason I bring up Trans Ams is at this particular year and age in my youth, this F-body was on the roads, and this F-body was a phenomenal vehicle. But my two older cousins, which lived about an hour and a half from me, part of this multi-generational family of gearheads, both had WS6 Trans Ams. One was heavily modified with bolt-ons, the other one was fully built, and I had the chance to ride in them at that young age. And I still remember as clear as day today, that feeling of being in that car. And it created an addiction to a certain drug, that drug sitting behind me. Again, don't know what it's called, but here we are years and years later. Now Pontiac fitted that car with one aesthetic piece, which was a Ram Air hood. Now what we are doing today, the purpose of this video is taking an idea like that and applying it to our 2020 Silverado Trail Boss. We have an opportunity to cool down our cold air intake even more, and it's gonna be ramming air through that induction system. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to my piece of paradise. I call it the Lonestar Hawaiian Garage. This is our family vehicle. This is a 2020 Silverado LT Trail Boss crew cab, short bed, long name, but a dang good truck. What we are working on today is gonna go right there behind that front grille, because we came across a company that designed a part that reminds me of the concept of those Ram Air hoods on the Trans Am, and taking that same idea and concept and applying it to these new pickup trucks in a different way. So let's see what we got in our parts department. It's a baby. He's escaping. So what we have here is the Stillen True Power Cold Air Induction System. This is an induction system, not an intake system. And I'll get into detail exactly the purpose of this here in just a second. We need to get the car shuffled around a little bit. Now, if you guys are by chance new and joining me for the first time, a special aloha and welcome. A really quick rundown. We got our 2020 Silverado Trail Boss we're working on today. Behind me, we have my dream car, the 2017 Camaro ZL1 we picked up last December. And then the OG on the channel, the 07 Silverado. And me, I'm just a crazy Hawaiian Texan that loves cars, so welcome. So what we have here today from Stillen is an aftermarket piece. It's going to replace essentially how the truck pulls in air to make power. This is a half-ton gas-powered truck. This particular one, a 5.3 liter, but this is going to be the same system between the 5.3 and the 6.2. It's not stock. We do have an aftermarket cold air inductions, cold air intake system on the truck here. We're actually going to be giving away a full cold air induction system in the next few days, so stay tuned for details on that later in the video. How the stock system works is you have ambient air passing through the grill, working its way up past the radiator. It works its way into this latticed system and then going into the air induct, into the intake, eventually into the motor. Now, something interesting to note about this process is that radiator it has to work its way up past is running between 180 and 200 degrees when the truck's up to temp. After that, you have this kind of lattice system and it's being vacuumed into the intake duct, eventually into the cold air intake system I have. What Stillen has done is taken actually a design and it's pulling in air through this channeled system. Why this reminds me of that Trans Am is as you're driving at speed, air will be forced into these channels here and forced into the intake duct, kind of helping it or aiding it pull in cool, crisp air into the motor to make power. In the most simplest sense, thinking back to 7th grade chemistry, as air is heated, molecules expand. As it's cooled, molecules compact, meaning the amount of oxygen molecules in a certain space, there's more of them in cold air than hot air. So what this is gonna allow us to do is run more efficiently when it comes to allowing cool, crisp air into the motor. When I installed my cold air induction intake, I actually saw an increase of 1 to 2 miles per gallon on average per tank. Now, if you're going to fill 5 to 10 to 15 horsepower by installing something like this from the driver's seat. I highly doubt it. But one thing that can confirm the rate of efficiency, the truck's going to need to use less fuel to make the same amount of power if it's utilizing those oxygen molecules in the most efficient manner. So this should actually help a little bit, but only time will tell if this actually does anything. So we're gonna pull this stock one off. We're gonna go ahead and remove this handle here. 2 bolts come out, this slides off. We have a few push pins that's gonna pop off, and the new one goes right on. All right, we got the stock one out of there and the aftermarket going in just a second, but I always find it fun just to sit back and look how things are put together and engineered. Chevrolet has completely overhauled this generation of truck from the previous generations of Silverados. For example, my 2007's Silverado intake is actually on a completely different side. It's on the passenger side. Not only that, it pulls in air from the fender well, where the new generations actually pulling all its air through this intake duct coming in through the front grille. And not only that, the way they brace this front end, the intake box sits significantly closer to the motor than the previous generations, which is all the way over here in the corner by the headlamp. So that's just another factor of why these boxes actually work really well, blocks that hot ambient temperature from the box itself. Also, the fact that this pulls in from the front and it's all the way up here is pretty interesting, because I would imagine it's a pretty good advantage off-road when you're going through deep water or mud, or for me, your local JCPenney parking lot. So this new one, it's pretty simple. It's gonna pop right in using the stock pieces, but let's look at how this is gonna sit in. I haven't thrown this in just yet, and I'd probably be better off removing the instructions there, which I have not read. Nice, that's cool. Really considering getting an AC unit for this garage. It's a wee bit warm. So the, yes, Stillen aftermarket piece is in. It is an aftermarket piece, so it will not fit perfectly, and I was tugging at it quite heavily to get clip holes to line up. But we also have this piece here. When I was initially looking at this, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cool because it will force air up through this channeled section and then allow it to push into this induct. But we have this huge gap, like the air will just escape out, and they thought about that because we have this plate, which will be installed right behind the hood latch. All right, the last thing to do is to deal with this 3M tape. They actually pre-apply 3M tape for you, and you do need to remove this stock rubber seal. But we're gonna install this rubber seal on the aftermarket piece, and also they give you some 3M primer to ensure that it sticks completely. Haircut, dude. Go. It was that easy. Guys, I just entered to win my own cold air inductions, cold air intake system for my own pickup truck. So what we're doing today is actually partnering up with Cold Air Inductions to give one of you a free intake system and no purchase necessary. You're gonna literally follow the link in the description below. It'll take you to Cold Air Inductions website, give them basic information, your name, your email address, and you're entered to win. And there's actually ways to get bonus entries as well. It's all detailed on the website. Guys, I love doing this. Every opportunity I have to give you guys free stuff, I jump on it. This is not a sponsored video by Stillen. This is not a sponsored video by Cold Air Inductions, but Cold Air Inductions reached out to me to promote what they have going on, and I love giving you guys the opportunity to win free stuff, especially if I believe in their products. Cold Air Inductions has phenomenal intake systems. I run them on my 07, the 2020, and I had their carbon fiber release series on my ZL1. Absolutely love them. So link in the description below if you want to enter to win your own free stuff. And this isn't a sponsored video by Stillen or Cold Air Inductions. Technically, they'd be competing companies, but this is just a video. I bought it, I'm funding it, I'm giving it to you. So guys, check it out, link in the description below, but this Stillen induction system, I love it. I'm happy we finally got around to doing this. I've had several dozen of you guys reach out over the last few weeks asking about this Stillen system if I would look into it. So happy we finally pulled the trigger, happy we finally got it installed. And in theory, this is gonna work great. We have air being pulled from the top of the grill into this area and forced into this intake duct to allow more efficient air into the motor. It is an aftermarket part, keep that in mind. The clip holes line up good, not great. I really had to force a few of those in there to get it to fit. The finish is a more glossy finish than the stock finish, so you can see a difference here. It's a textured plastic, it's very thick, very solid, but obviously it's not an OEM piece, and it's not an issue with me. Half the truck by now is not OEM, but I'm hoping it gives me just a little bit more efficiency, potentially a little more power, because we have a few modifications coming up that I just ordered this week that's going to kill my fuel mileage, if you know what I mean. But super happy with that, guys. Stillen, it's a great product. American company, American made, which you guys know I freaking love. It's so cool. You can feel the air being pulled in. That is so cool. That's gonna be sweet. Heck, yes. Dang. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new and have a question about any modification on this truck, everything we've done has its own video. Go check out the channel, browse, and subscribe. If you want to see the behind the scenes stuff in between, Lonestar Hawaiian on Instagram for regular updates. I'll put links in the description below for everything we used today if you want to go check them out. Cold Air Inductions, you only have a few days left to enter, so work quickly. If you want to see the progress on the ZL1, I'll put links in the description below as well for the last few videos of this. We are in process of a pretty significant investment because we are doing a full 1LE conversion of my base ZL1. This is going to be an absolute monster when we're all done. But thank you again for all the support. We will catch you guys in a few days for our next video. As always, until that day comes, y'all take care. Aloha.